Hi, everybody. We're here again for the next Living with Grace, Flow, and Ease live on the web. So welcome to all of you that signed up today to be here with us. We're going to be introducing you to our wonderful friend and guest today, Edie Weinstein. But right now, for those of you that are seeing us for the first time, this is our monthly show that we do. I'm Cheryl Dodd Baldwin.
And I'm Arielle Infinity.
And together we wrote the book, Living with Grace, Flow, and Ease. And these webinars are all about living the Grace, Flow, and Ease approach. And so we like to bring you people, information, all kinds of things that just help in that whole thing of living this approach and this lifestyle that we call Grace, Flow, and Ease. And it's called all kinds of things too, but it's about living life on purpose, and life consciously and intentionally, and being fully present to all that life has to offer us and is for us. So we have it on your computer screen. You should see to the side there's a chat box, and we really are part of what makes this lively is that you give us your comments and your feedback as we're going. Everyone will be able to see your chat as well. And that's what makes this alive, is if people will give us your comments and things so that we can read them with you and respond to you as well. Now, Mary and I are here.
Just let us know you're here if you don't mind.
Yeah, you can just chat and say I'm here. Put in the chat box that you're here, and hopefully we can see you. So this is always technology. We're using a fairly sophisticated program to do this. So bear with us. It's not like TV. This is computer land. And so it is very different. It has a different feel and a different venue. But we work hard at it as far as trying to get it right.
Yeah.
And it's Mary and I here in this room. Edie will be where she is, coming in with us in just a moment. So I'm kind of monitoring camera, chat, and all of that. So if I look a little distracted, I'm really not. I'm just working all the keys and keeping it all going. So I hope that's not too distracting for you. So what we want to talk about today is, first of all, for those of you that are seeing us for the first time, I want to define what Grace, Flow, and Ease is, in case you haven't read our book. And grace is divine intervention. It's that element, it's when the divine intervenes into a situation and actually makes it better.
And we're aware of something larger than ourselves at work on our behalf.
Right, and sometimes we don't know that till hindsight, but it does. So then flow is the element that grace uses to move the situation, and ease is the lack of difficulty when grace and flow are working. So what we have found over the years in working with this is that grace, flow, and ease, it's the trilogy, the grace, flow, and ease, when we can actually invoke that by calling on them. And they're a very, Mary calls it a sweet energy. I call it a powerful energy. So we'll say it's a sweet, powerful energy that really is there to assist us and help us.
And make a huge, huge difference in our life and the way we show up in life.
Yes.
It's like a gracious support and guidance that we can tap into.
Right. So I want to bring in our guest, Edie Weinstein, because we're going to be having a dialogue with her. We were talking for a few minutes before we even came on air, and it was like, oh, what's the time? Because we're going to be doing the show before we even turn it on for everybody. So she's just such a delight to talk to, and we're going to really enjoy having her here, and I know you're going to enjoy it too. So I'm going to let Mary read you Edie's bio, just to give you some information about her.
Now, do you need to bring Edie on screen?
No, go ahead.
When are you going to? Okay. Edie Weinstein is a licensed social worker, a colorfully creative journalist, inspiring and dynamic speaker, interfaith minister, bliss coach, radio host. It's all about relationships on www.vividlife.me. PR goddess, thriving artist, and the author of the Bliss Mistress Guide to Transforming the Ordinary into the extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
She refers to herself as an optimistic who views the world through the eyes of possibility. www.liveinjoy.org.
Yes.
Thank you, Edie.
Yes, and hopefully we'll give that to you again soon, because you're going to want to look at her website and go to her blog post. And this is her book that Mary just mentioned, The Bliss Mistress.
Yes.
The Guide to Transforming the Ordinary to the Extraordinary. And I tell you what I really appreciated about reading this book. And Edie, I'm going to go ahead and bring you up. I'm going to turn your camera on here so that you can come in with us here.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Let me see. There you are. Good. And hopefully everyone can see you. I'm going to put this back to chat. Just bear with me a second so I can have the chat bar on the side in case anyone says anything there.
But Kathy and Helene are there.
Okay. We're not getting that, so that's interesting. All right. So the thing that I wanted to say about this is that the thing I really enjoy about Edie's book was the stories that you shared, because they were, when you read this book, you'll be so impressed that Edie clearly lives life fully engaged. That's such a good word and a good way to put it, fully engaged. And it's like you can tell from the stories that she really lives life fully. And but I always say lives life fully, but I like that word, engaged in life. And the thing that I really appreciate about Edie, when you talk with her and when you read her book, is that, in her blog, is that not only is she fully engaged, but she invites us, her readers, to come along with her. And it's like she's a messenger that this is for all of us. This is for all of us to live and how to be. And it's just such fun. And a couple of more things about Edie is she is a columnist for the Huffington Post, and she's also interviewed many famous inspirational people on her radio show from around the world, including one of her dream come true interviews, and it would be a dream come true interview for me too, the Dalai Lama. So I think you're going to really enjoy her. And Edie, welcome, and thank you for doing this and coming and being part of this.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. The Dalai Lama wasn't on the radio. That was a written interview, which people.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. People are welcome to read it via my website. It's liveinjoy.org, and you can see the interview there. I would love to have him on the radio show. But I did the interview with him in 2008. It was a live and in-person interview when he came to Philadelphia. That's the area where I live. But I'm honored to be on the show with the two of you, or the webinar. I'm used to radio talk. I'm used to on the webinar with the two of you. So thank you for that lovely, lovely introduction. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Edie, tell us what has brought you to the place in life where you are now, where you are in life. How did you get here? What's brought you to where you are?
Okay, well, I call it the Hansel and Gretel breadcrumb trail, and every one of us has one, where you look at where your feet are planted right now, and then you turn around and look at the steps that it took to get you there. One of the things that I bless every day is that my parents, who were loving, wonderful people, taught me resiliency skills. I grew up in a home with two parents who adored each other, were married almost 52 years when my dad died. They were sweethearts. They raised my sister and me as kids and not just girls. Not that there's anything wrong with being girls, certainly, but we were full, well-rounded people. And back in the 1960s, when I grew up, a lot of fathers were considered the babysitter, the breadwinner, the provider. My father was the provider, a provider in our family, but he was also the daddy. So we had a lot of family time. We were very goofy people, a lot of music, a lot of silly stuff, a lot of encouragement to be whoever we wanted to be. My parents were my biggest cheerleaders. They both passed. My dad died in 2008, my mom in 2010. So they planted the seeds for me to be where I am right now. I grew up in a middle-class Jewish family with education, Jewish education, went to Hebrew school till I was 16, bat mitzvah, the whole works, and I became an interfaith minister. Go figure. So people often ask, how did a nice Jewish girl become an interfaith minister? The way that happened is that my parents encouraged and supported us to go to church with Christian friends. We used to go to this international fair every year at school. So we learned about the world. I was not just an avid, but a voracious reader. And I say that I used to carry books around like they were like little kids carry teddy bears. Mm-hmm. I went to the library every week. My mother would take us to the library every week for story hour. I'd come home with stacks of books, and I'd read them in a week and bring them back. So the seeds were already planted for me to become a writer. Although I didn't go to school for journalism. My degrees are in psychology and social work. I have a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in social work. But somehow the muse spoke to me and said, "You're mine." No matter what, you're mine. I'm not going to let you go. So the muse speaks to me 24/7. Mm-hmm. So I was on a particular trajectory, a spiritual path that I was helpless to change. And it's brought me to where I am right now, which is a communicator, a connector, a way of, you talked about my being a messenger. A friend of mine referred to me as a tour guide that I take along with me on magical mystery tour, if you want to call it that, to help people become who they want to be, where they want to be in their lives. So does that answer your question?
Nice. Yes, definitely. So one of the things you talk about is, well, first of all, I want to know more about optimistic. What is you call yourself an optimistic? Can you say more about that?
Sure. Well, it's spelled OPTI hyphen capital MYSTIC. And to me, and a lot of things come to me, like probably for a lot of the folks that are on your calls or on the webinars, and for the two of you, they come to me in dreams, in meditation, through the voice is what I call it. Now, having been a psychiatric social worker for a lot of years, I do know the difference between spiritual messages and psychosis. And I'm not anyone who hears voices due to illness. I'm not talking about that. But it's the guidance, it's the inner guidance that when we listen to it leads us to a lot of good places. Mm-hmm. So the words optimistic came to me, and I said, what is that about? And the definition came through as an optimistic is one who views the world through the eyes of possibility. Mm. When we have possibility thinking, we think about the word impossible. I'm possible. You're possible. We're all possible. There's an infinite possibility for how things can be. So I encourage people to do that. And there's a really cool story. A friend of mine, Teresa, created a meme with the words. And for those who don't know what a meme is, they're those little boxes that have words and images on them that you see all over social media. And she found a piece of artwork that was an elephant sitting on a bird's nest, a top hat, and a propeller behind it. And the words, an optimistic is one who sees the world through the eyes of possibility. And on my birthday last year, October 13th, 2014, I get an email from a friend who said, happy birthday, and by the way, did you know that Julian Lennon posted your quote on his Facebook page? I said, nah, you're kidding, right? And he says, no, go look. Wow. So I did, and he had found it somewhere. Then I tracked down the artist who created it because I wanted to give that person credit too, because it was in the public domain. But she didn't. My friend Teresa didn't steal it from an artist, because I'm really big on people getting credit for what they do. And certainly, if somebody has a piece of artwork or verbiage that's out there in the world, people should know who wrote it or who designed it. So I found this woman. Her name is Beata Bieniak, and she's a Polish artist. So the three of us co-created this amazing optimistic meme. And I do have an optimistic Facebook page. You just look it up, OPTI-MYSTIC. And if you want to see if I'm telling the truth, look up Julian Lennon optimistic, and you'll see the link to his Facebook page too. So
wow,
that's where that came from.
Wow. One of the things you talk about that I think is one of the things that I've said a lot, but I really like the way you say it, and if you could say more about it, this whole thing about transforming the ordinary to the extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about the movie The Wizard of Oz, and when I was a kid, we didn't have a color TV. We had a black and white television, but our neighbors across the street had a color television, so we'd always go over there every year. It was a big, an event to watch The Wizard of Oz. And you think about what happens when Dorothy lands in Oz, and she steps out onto the porch, and all of a sudden, things go from black and white to Technicolor. And you see Munchkin Land, and you see the beautiful flowers, and the people, and everything is brilliant and vibrant. And to me, that's the difference. Now, I'm not dissing ordinary at all, because ordinary can be lovely. You can have consistency. You can have something that happens the same way every day, and it feels really good and really comfortable to be in that state. But imagine if you could transform where you are right now to where you want to be by adding a splash of color. I'm wearing a gray little tunic thing here, little jacket with a beautiful, and I'll tell you the story of the scarf, a beautifully, brilliantly colored scarf. You guys can see that. And it was a chapter in the book about, I didn't write about the scarf, but about the person who gave me the scarf. But, I could be just wearing gray, and all you would see is gray, right? But I add the scarf, and it adds color, and it's vibrant, and they're butterflies. That's what these are. So think about parts of your life that are maybe not quite where you want them to be, and if you could take a splash of your favorite colors and and whisk them over it, what would your life look like? If you could decorate your life in some way, and it doesn't have to be anything external, it can be quite internal, and that's where meditation comes in, that's where writing comes in, where anything that you do that nourishes your soul can help you transform. Like right now, it's kind of a gray day in Pennsylvania, which is again where we both are, all three of us are, and I could say, oh, it's an awful day, it's dreary, it's cold, it's going to snow like a blizzard tomorrow, and it's icy and sleety and messy. Or I could say, I'm looking out a window, and I see these, I call it the office I'm in right now in the counseling practice where I work, the tree house, because I can see beautiful trees out the window. Now they're bare, but I can envision that in a few months, hopefully not maybe, too many months, we're going to see beautiful buds on them. So I can use my imagination to transform a gray day into something magnificent. And you can too. Everyone listening in here can do the same thing. So that's where that came from.
Okay, that's beautiful. I have something similar in that the other day I was looking out the window, from my office window, there's a hill that's about a block away. And I watch these trees all through the seasons, like what you're talking about, when they're budding, and right now they're bare. But for the first time in 7 years, I've never seen it before, and we've been here for 7 years, I saw deer running back and forth and playing, and all of a sudden that hill was transformed for me, and now I catch myself looking outside, looking to see if I can see more deer, and I actually have. So it's those little things that, the beauty that's in everything, I think, is also what you're talking about too. How we can transform it with color, whatever that color is, and then that gets into what are the elements that I want to add.
Oh yeah, well, and you made a really important point that when you look for beauty, you're going to see it.
Yes,
it's always there.
Yeah.
And every day, I set an intention, and I encourage folks on this call to listen to that too. Is that every day set an intention for how you're always going to go picture perfect, but I set an intention every day to have amazing experiences and connect with extraordinary people, or vice versa, and every day I do. Now, the story behind this, before it gets away from me, because I have my middle-age moments where I have a thought, and it's like, it gets sucked out of my head. In 2010, I was flying down to Florida for my mother's funeral, and she had been on hospice for the previous 6 months, and I had been going down there at least once a month to be with her. And we had prepared as best you can to lose a parent, and we talked a lot about life, the universe, and everything, and what we thought would happen when she died. And I thought she had a particular spiritual belief that told her a certain thing about what life was going to be like on the other side. So when I asked her, Mom, what do you think happens when you die? She said, I don't know. And I said, well, when you do know, let me know. And she said, well, okay, well, I'll come back as a butterfly. So she died on November 26th of 2010. And we had spoken the week prior. I asked her, and that was Thanksgiving weekend. I asked her if she wanted me to come down to be with her for Thanksgiving. She said, no, I'll be fine. I said, then you realize I won't be down there till the very end, not anticipating that it was going to come as quickly as it did. So as we got closer to that weekend, she became less responsive, and on Thanksgiving Day I called, and the nurse put the phone to her ear and she couldn't talk at all. So the day after Thanksgiving, I'm on my way to a job that I had as a psychiatric social worker in a hospital, and that was, again, 2010, so several years ago. And I called again, and the nurse said, it's going to be soon. So I said, do I need to turn around and get to the airport now and get down there? Well, I don't know if there's time. And within a few minutes, she was gone. So that day, my sister and I flew out. She's from Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I was out of Philadelphia. My cousin drove me to the airport. On the back of a car right in front of us was a butterfly sticker. It wasn't a bumper sticker. It was on the back window. So butterfly number one. We get down there, and my mother's neighbor, who was her angel, she called Diane her angel. She helped to take care of her, which I really appreciated, said, I'm going to tell you girls something that happened. Now, she called us girls, and she's only a few years older than me. And she said, you know that suit that your mother wanted to wear to be buried in? It was a beautiful pink, like a, not amethyst, the pink, like a pink crystal, get me the age moment.
Rose quartz?
Rose quartz. It was that color. And it was hanging on the back of her door to her den. And after my mother died, Diane and another neighbor, Myrna, came over to clean up the condo in preparation for us to get there. And Myrna said to Diane, door just closed by itself. I'm too freaked out to go in there. You go in there. So Diane walked in, and on the back of the door was still the suit that she'd forgotten to send with my mother, with the funeral home person that came to pick my mother's body up. She says, "Oh, that's just Selma reminding us that reminding me that I forgot the suit." So my mother showed up. She was still hanging around the condo. The next day, my sister and I go to the funeral home to prepare for the funeral. And now this is November in South Florida, which is not typically butterfly season. Everywhere. There were butterflies all over the place.
Wow.
Then the next day is the funeral. And again, more butterflies. And as a minister, I officiated at my mother's funeral. And there was a butterfly that kept dipping and diving into the grave afterwards. Okay, gets even better. The next day, I go to the bank. That Monday, I go to the bank to set up my mother's online account because I was the executor of her estate, handling all of her finances. And you know how if you do online banking, there's an icon that shows up, an image that shows up that tells you, okay, this is my account. And for those of you listening, you probably know what I'm talking about. So I say, okay, I'm going to, I didn't even pick one. The page opened up, and guess what showed up on the page? and I started laughing, and the guy says, "What are you laughing about?" I said, "I have to tell you this." He says, "You know there are 30,000 or 3,000, a lot, of possible images, and that one shows up." So wow. They kept showing up. So on the way down to the funeral, to my mom's funeral, I meet this flight attendant, and I'm reading a book that I'd recommend to your listeners too, and for the two of you as well. There's an artist named Sark, Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy, and she wrote a book called Glad No Matter What. And the book is about grief. Her mother had just died, her 16-year-old cat had just died, and she just ended a relationship. And I had the book open on my lap with the spine up, and Julie, Jewellee, this beautiful red-haired, spiky, sticking-up-haired flight attendant walks by and says, "Oh, I love Sark." And I didn't expect that in a mainstream setting, that somebody would even know who she was. And I said, "Well, do you want to borrow the book while we're in flight? Take a look to page through it." So I brought it back to the galley, and I tell her why I'm on the flight, and she starts crying. And I thanked her for the empathy, and she said, "Yes, and I'm also crying because I think it was the anniversary of the death of a friend." And told her the butterfly story. So she hitches up her skirt and shows me that on her thigh she has a tattoo, not of a butterfly, a dragonfly, a close cousin. So Julie and I bonded over that. So she came to visit me one time. She gave me the scarf. So that's butterfly. So I always feel like I have a Julie hug around me when I wear the scarf too. So that's the story.
Wow, nice.
So that the conversation we were having in that, Edie, is, when we talk about whether it's grace, flow, and ease, or optimistic, or all these things where it's about living positively, Sometimes people, it's life happens.
Yep.
And what have you found has been your tools for when life happens that get you through situations?
Absolutely. And before the conversation, we were having a pre-show conversation. One of my former clients used to say, "What do you do when life gets lifey?" Because it does. So the first thing I do is that I don't go into victim mode. I used to say, "Oh, why is this happening?" And how come this happened? And there's a lot of spiritual elitism, if you want to call it that says, well, if I was a spiritual person, then this wouldn't be happening, or if I did all my practices right, I wouldn't feel like this. We're human. We're going to have emotional peaks and valleys. We're going to have fluctuations in our emotions. So the first thing I do is I say, okay, what am I feeling right now? What's going on? Well, I'm feeling sad, scared, frustrated, jealous, angry, whatever emotions come up. And I ask people, like I do, take a deep breath and put your hand on a part of your body where you're feeling a visceral, felt, gut sense of whatever it is. So for me, a lot of it is solar plexus area, because it's almost like, because I operate a lot by the gut. My gut instinct, my intuition. So I think, all right, what am I feeling? Or what am I feeling here? Or what am I not saying if I'm feeling something, if I feel my throat constricted? What do I need? What needs to be spoken? Then I say, all right, I'm feeling this way. All right, what's that connected to? And I use the example of the kids' game, Barrel of Monkeys. Did you ever play that when you were little?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And for those that don't know, who may be too young,
they may be too young.
Barrel, and it's got these little monkeys with tails and arms sticking out. And if you can imagine picking one up, the idea is to pick one up with the tail and the arm of the other, and you just make a string of the monkeys. Sometimes when you reach in, you pick up 2 or 3 or 4 monkeys, and then you've got all these, not just monkeys on your back, but monkeys hanging on the tails that are more than one emotion at a time. So you do the best you can to sort out. You put one monkey down at a time. You say, okay, this is a monkey of anger. What's the anger want to tell me? Not, oh, why am I so angry? But if the anger had a voice, what would it say to me? Well, it would say, it's not fair that, fill in the blank. Or this is a sadness monkey. What's the monkey sad about? Well, the monkey's sad because it's feeling lonely that somebody died or somebody left their lives. So if you can identify what it's saying, it tends to disconnect you from the attachment to the feeling. Now, I don't tell anybody not to feel or to brush under the rug whatever you're feeling, because it's not pleasant. But once you identify the feeling, it's easier to deal with. Then what I do is I write, because I'm a professional writer. So I write. Writing has kept me sane and vertical and got me through dark nights of the soul like nothing else has. So I sometimes journal it. Now I type faster than I write, so I'm and I can type with my eyes closed. So I sometimes do automatic writing, which is asking a question and then just letting the answers flow without censoring, without editing. You just let the words come out. I do that. I work out at the gym. I take walks. I call friends. Sometimes I cry. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't, so for me, it's not turning to a substance to medicate away my feelings like some people do. So I caution people. And also being an addictions counselor, I caution people about turning to a substance or a behavior to medicate away your feelings. We can't heal what we don't feel. So let yourself feel it. And I tell people that my only rule is don't hurt yourself or somebody else because of what you feel. So that's what gets me through. The other thing is that I tell myself I have survived everything that has ever happened in my life, and so has everyone else on the planet, because we're here. And I tend to minimize my challenges and my trauma, because after all, there are people that have whose lives are tougher than mine, and when I do that, I limit myself. So I've come to acknowledge that I've had losses. I was widowed at 40. I had an ectopic pregnancy. My husband and I lost our home to Hurricane Andrew in Homestead, Florida in 1992. I'm an adult orphan. Both my parents have passed. I've had health challenges. In the last year, I had shingles, a heart attack, and kidney stones. So even somebody who has practices, even someone who has emotional resources, even someone who has the wherewithal to make positive change, life happens. And I had a choice. I could say, all right, this sucks, I'm a victim, why me? Or I could say, here's an example. I could say, oh my God, now what? Or I could say, now what? So I've learned to turn now what into now what? What am I going to do? What's my next step? So I just threw a whole lot at you here.
Yeah, no, I really like that because I think that's so true, and it's that's such a nice thing to say. Now what? It's like, now what? It's okay. This is happening. Now what? And sometimes though, we're human. I told you earlier in the week I got my feelings hurt over something that was so silly. I can't even believe it. That would have normally not even bothered me, and I don't know why in the world it did, but it turned me upside down. Yeah. Things I read, like my glasses that I had on were now a completely different, like I interpreted everything through those glasses. And so that's when our practices really come in. Mm-hmm. It's like, as soon as we can catch it, and sometimes we can't get our feet back right away underneath us. It takes a little while. But when it's knowing that we will, mm-hmm. that we don't throw everything out because life sucks, it always sucks, it's never going to get better and all that kind of stuff. Yep. It's like, I like that. Now what? It's like, okay, that hurt my feelings. Mm-hmm. Now what?
What? And you talk about glasses. I use this as the perfect, exactly what you said, the perfect analogy. For those of you that wear glasses, if you put your glasses on in the morning and they're smudgy, life is going to look smudgy. The world's going to look blurry. Versus if you clean your literal and figurative glasses, the world's going to look more clear. And you're going to be able to see things with greater clarity. And when we see everything, a particular thing, but it's about our interpretation. What am I making it mean? What's the story I'm telling myself? How am I reading into it? And does it serve me to continue believing what I'm believing? So that's what you express, Cheryl, is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and when we get in those moments, when we have those experiences, it doesn't mean that optimistic doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that grace, flow, and ease doesn't work. It doesn't mean that positive affirmations aren't helpful. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means life just got, like you said, lifey for a moment. And now what? And I really like that. I think that's very helpful. And I think that is the key, right? There's so many ways we get to create our own reality in so many ways. And what we mean by that is through our attitudes, through our actions, and through our beliefs, right? So I can go through life kicking and screaming and complaining, or I can enjoy it.
Or just be glad when you have all green lights, but you don't always have all green lights.
And sometimes red lights keep us from having literal accidents.
Exactly.
You need to have the red lights. If you're running late for something, there's a good reason for it, I find. Yes. And what I do, since I read your book, and I found it to be simple but not simplistic. Very easy practices. I've started using that I'm living with grace, flow, and ease. And things happen. Like this weekend, I was at a tribute concert for a Philly local icon. His name is Gene Shea. Gene used to have a folk show on a number of different radio stations in the area, most recently a member station called WXPN. And he just turned 80 and he just retired. And there was a concert that was held, a tribute concert over the weekend. And the weather on Saturday was kind of nasty and dreary and cold, and it was supposed to get really icy that night. So I went there with a friend, and now this is a full circle experience. In 1986 was the last time I was in that building. It was a Unitarian church in Philly, 21st and Chestnut. And I went there to hear Ram Dass speak. Ram Dass is an amazing spiritual teacher, for those who may not know who he is. That night, during the intermission, a mutual friend introduced me to the man who became my husband. The next year we got married. The year after that we co-published Visions magazine, which is about holistic health, wellness, spirituality, and the like. And we did it for 10 years until Michael died in 1998. And during that time, I, as you mentioned, interviewed some amazing people. 3 of them were performers at this concert. Now, I had never physically met any of the 3 of them, but had interviewed them over the phone. The one was Janice Ian, who you may know as, Society's Child at 17.
Right.
Another is Julie Gold. Now, you may not know her name, but I can almost guarantee you know the song that she wrote, From a Distance, the one that Bette Midler is known for.
Yeah.
And another named Christine Lavin. And Christine was the founder of a group called the Four Bitchin' Babes. And these were women who were amazing singer-songwriters, but did a lot of parody kind of songs and off-the-wall creative songs. So all 3 of them were there. So I'm sitting there in the audience thinking, and this is the breadcrumb trail, had I not walked into that building in 1986, I wouldn't have probably met my husband. Had I not met my husband, we wouldn't have created the magazine. Had we not created the magazine, I might not have become a journalist and wouldn't have interviewed these women. And because of all of those things, here I was sitting in this beautiful room with all these people. It was a love fest for Jean, but it was also a love fest for the community. I would just have been another audience member. But because certain twists and turns. So then my friend that I was there with said, you know what, I'm really nervous about driving back home. I have a friend at the room. We'll spring forward and we'll do something. So at the end of the concert, another friend approached her and said, I rented a hotel room at a beautiful, it was a Doubletree Hotel in Philly, which is a lovely hotel. Right. And she said, I have an extra bed. Are you interested? Now, she didn't know. My friend Lisa Beth didn't approach this woman. The woman approached her. So somehow, Spirit, universe, whatever, knew we needed a place. She said, well, as a matter of fact, So we stayed in a beautiful hotel, and that's grace, flow, and ease. I trusted everything would flow into place. So I tell a lot of stories as a way of helping people to understand that this is real. This is not cosmic foo-foo, woo-woo stuff. This is real, grounded, practical. So when you think that way, doors open. It's like and this gets into the Bliss Mistress thing. Joseph Campbell said, when you follow your bliss, doors open for you that wouldn't open for anybody else. So that's the grace, flow, and ease thing too.
Yes. And and besides, it's just a fabulous way to live life.
Oh, it's fun.
It's fun.
It is, right. Yeah. It's fun. It's exciting.
Yes, it is. So, Edie, thank you for being here with us.
And again, you wanted to share?
Yes. Is there anything else, Mary wants to know if there was anything else you wanted to share before we close?
Absolutely. I want to thank you both for hosting me, inviting me to come play. I want to thank everybody on the call who decided to join us. And what I wish for you is that all of your deepest desires, your dreams, your visions, your what you thought was impossible come to fruition. And there are plenty of ways to do that. And I'm more than happy to connect with you. As I said, they said I do some coaching. You can reach me via Facebook if you want, through my website, livinjoy.org. Show. It's all about relationships. It's on Thursday night. www.vividlife.me. I would love to connect with you. I am, one of my deepest desires is connect with people and share these kind of messages so that you have an inspired life. That you take inspired action to make your life brilliant and magnificent. So I thank you, everybody, for being on this call, and go out and make some magic happen.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Edie. And again, I want to just reemphasize that because you broke up just a little bit. It's livinjoy.org.
Right.
Is the website. And again, her book is The Bliss Mistress, Guide to Transforming the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. Please get this. You'll love it. And it's available at Amazon.com. Is that correct? Or on your website? Or both?
Either way, but it connects to Amazon. You can order it.
Okay. So, yes, you can order it through Amazon.
Either So bring home some bliss.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Edie. Thank you, everyone, for watching us today. We're going to, if you have any chat, Edie, you're going to have to help us here. We cannot see the chat box. So do you see any chat on the side?
It just says, Kathy says, hi, ladies. I'm here looking forward to your chat. And Helene says, Helene is with you.
Perfect, and I'm sure there's some other ones. We see some other viewers, but that are listed here. But thank you, everyone, for viewing, and for those that are going to be watching the recording as well. Thank you for joining us. Now, for those of you that signed up, you will be getting an email. Our next webinar will be Wednesday, April 1st, April Fool's Day, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So you will be getting that invitation. So watch for that in your email, and we wish you a wonderful month filled with grace, flow, and ease, and all the magic and bliss that Edie has brought to us as well. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful month. And we are going to see those trees budding out soon for spring.
I'm still ready.
So, yes. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month. Thanks,
Thank you.
Edie. Bye-bye.
Bye.